thing that I want to talk to you folks about is the Fedora Websites and Apps team revamp objective. Let me give you a background about what this thing is. So we had a websites team previously run by a total of one person who used to update the websites every single time a new release came out. So if there's a Fedora Linux 36 which came out after Fedora Linux 35, changing those numbers, adding new features to the websites, pointing those ISOs to the CDN where those things belong to, was handled by that one person. It points to one critical thing, that if that person somehow stops doing that, one point of failure, who does that? So I asked, is there documentation, some kind of a standard operating procedure which tells me how to do stuff in case of them not being able to do so? There wasn't any. And that led me to work on websites and applications revamp objective, because guess what? Being a college student, websites was the only thing that I used to know about. Next slide, please. Right, so this is our core team. The leadership has me and Graham White from IBM. He is a researcher. And we are supported by Vipul Siddharth, well, you know him, and Murray Norden, who is our FCake. The sub-teams involve the engineering team. These are the points of contact, and the stakeholders team. The stakeholder team takes care of designing stuff, making sure what technological stack is made use of, and everything that falls in between. And finally, the co-leads objective team. That's a brain logo, if you were not able to figure that out. So let's talk about the engineering team. Next slide, please. Yeah. So the things that we have been up to involve being part of discussions that involve engineering, of course, and updating the websites as soon as the new releases come out, and onboarding contributors and making sure that they stay back. Helping with interns, we had a couple of outreach interns in last cycle whom we mentored, and we worked on a lot of projects with them, representing the community, the websites and apps community within the larger one, and revamping the applications who look like 1998, but they should really look like 2022. These are things that we plan to do. We plan to do everything that we have been up to so far, and improving the response time on tickets. If someone says, geez, there's a typo on that documentation, why don't you just go and handle it? We want to make sure that we take no longer than 24 hours to respond to them. Then, yeah, resuming onboarding new contributors. Feel free to scan this QR code if you want to be a part of this team. The next is the stakeholders team. Go on, Ankit. Of course, discussion is a good big part of all the teams, and that is what this team is also up to. Apart from that, we design the mock-ups. It's not just code, but designers, the ones who not only involved with coming up with things with free and open source design software such as Enscape, but with also the people who work on UI UX side of things. If something looks great, that doesn't mean that it's always accessible. Well, more on that would be delivered by Shivang in his coming talk. But we take reviews on those with a variety of people who might be different in their way of perceiving things on websites, on web applications, and we improve upon them. Then we document the plans. We make sure that if we, in some way, fail to deliver what we promised, there's a contingency, there's a documented SOP that lets people continue on from wherever we leave off. Then we plan things with our stakeholders, and then again, like all communities do, we tell the larger community what we have been up to and how they can be a part of this place. Moving on, these are things that we plan to do. Continue with the design. So if you don't, if you don't really have a knack of developing things in code, but you like to, you have an understanding of how things should look like, and you know how to use design applications, you can potentially join this team and continue working on the mock-ups, discuss on the technological stack, and iterate upon them with respect to the feedbacks that you get from the wider community. As always, I'll be sharing the slide deck with you, so please feel free to scan it right now or to move on. Finally, the team that is at the lead position of both the technical and the objective stakeholders team. So this is the objective co-leads team. We introspect the team's current nature. In order to make sure that the things are rolling the way that they are, we see what the team status is, how they interact with each other, and note if there's some tension between the two of them. If there are, we try to make sure that they collaborate with each other as smoothly as possible. The next thing that we are planning to do is make use of a single page application like structure. I was in conversation with Deepesh Nair, who works on web technologies extensively. He has agreed that his team and himself would help us with developing things with respect to Vue.js, and the backend would be written with more recent technologies such as Fast API, as compared to something that we had before like Flask. Back to the slide deck. Yeah, that one. So as this thing is a continuous process, and we know it for a fact that the one thing that will come out with won't quite be perfect. There will always be suggestions. There will always be something in a way that we can make it better. We want everyone to be a part of it. If someone wants a suggestion that they want to add in that release cycle, anything can be presented if it's relevant. The same things. And then finally, we get to the more public-facing side of things, the blog for the community and the blog for the users. Well, the footer stays as the footer, not much changes to it, to be honest. So that is the mockup, well, at least one of them. We have loads of these mockups. This is for Get Fedora, the main website where you get Fedora Linux from, but we have such mockups for applications as well, and we plan to implement them in code as soon as we get a green signal that these mockups are something that we will want to work with.